joining.
Here we go. Hey, Tawny, how are you?
I'm good, Dizzy. I'm back in school. How are you?
Yay, I'm good. I'm good. So your classes have started.
So classes were already ongoing. I was just out because I was sick. Today we don't have class, but yeah, we'll have classes through until Thanksgiving break, and then the semester ends when we come back second week in December.
Gotcha. So you'll have a
Yeah.
little break. Well, I'm glad to hear you're feeling better and back at it.
Thank you. Me
Where do you
too.
teach?
I teach for the Sweetwater Union High School District, but I teach at the adult school in National City. So we teach
Wonderful.
three different drone classes here. Yeah. And a drone soccer club now that we have,
Woohoo!
which is lots of fun.
Do you
Yeah.
coordinate with Grossmont with your soccer club? I'm sorry,
No,
Grossmont College?
no. So I did reach out to them, I think last year, but they are league affiliated. So we are not. We use equipment from a couple of different leagues. And so we haven't had the opportunity to collaborate with them.
Got it.
Hmm.
Gotcha. Gotcha. So how is drone soccer going in the San Diego area? Going good?
In San Diego, it's going well. It always takes a little bit to get started up. So the idea of having it here at the adult school, aside from it just being lots of fun, it gives like a building component to our curriculum and an opportunity for students that are interested in more of the mechanics of drones to kind of be more hands-on and go beyond the flight. And then also, the city is in the process of setting up drone soccer and drone programs for their rec centers. And so we're going to be partnering with them to hopefully set up some internships because they've got some paid internship positions available. So the idea is my students can come in here, they can learn drone soccer, and then they can go and help out with the students at Parks and Rec.
Oh, I love it.
That's
Win-win.
awesome.
Yes,
Yeah,
that is a win-win. Awesome.
absolutely.
Hello, everybody. So we just kind of opened up and just started right engaging in conversation, which is awesome. That's what we're here for, right? Real quick shout out. I see some people here. Charlotte, Mark, Bill. Hi, everybody. Uh, Yanara. Did I say that right? No, I botched it. What else is new for me? I'm sorry. Go ahead. Hi, great to see you here. Awesome.
Hi, good morning. It's Janita.
Oh, wow. I really did botch it. I apologize.
That's a hard name. Even my husband, when we met, he graded like Janeeda, which is not how I spell it, but he graded like that. And we've been 7 years married, and he still has me like that. So the way he knows how to pronounce it. So don't worry.
Oh, good. All right. Well, we're going to go ahead and let a few more people in here, but we are all about networking. So let's just kick this off by putting your information into our chat, right? This is how we get it started. I see Jennifer, she's in here today. And so a lot of great resources, a lot of great people to meet and network with. So open up. Hi, Bill. Well, yeah, Bill, you're going to put your information in there. Jim, I got Jim. All right. Going to let a couple more people in here too. All right. So connect. That's what we're all about. So great to see everybody. Make sure at the end we save our chat. And before we get ready to hear from our amazing guest speaker today, which I am super excited to have Sheri here with us, but tell us a great drone story. Anybody out in the field doing something amazing? We just heard from Tawny and how awesome things are going for her. Anybody else got anything great you want to share? Look, we got a couple of chats going already. I see it going on. Hellos, networking. Awesome. All right. So I'm not hearing anybody got to get out and fly. Hey, Jim, is it too early to say about your event? Okay, never mind. So I had the pleasure of getting out to fly. You got to be careful. You tell me things and I get excited for everybody, right? So I got to get out and fly. I went to my favorite place, which is Arizona, and it's awesome just to get out and get in the air. Got to take my new bird, Athena. Great name, right? Her name is Athena. I'm liking it, right? So I got my hands finally on the Air 3S, and I love it. Absolutely love it. So you'll be seeing a lot of footage coming up with that, right? Now, enough of me blabbing. I do actually have a quick announcement. If you haven't seen it, the Vertical Space magazine is out. And once again, it is just amazing. So I'm going to put in here after I let somebody in. I will put a link in our chat to the Vertical Space magazine. I saw in there's an article about LIDAR, there's AAM, just some really good content. And it's always done so beautifully. Love the magazine. It really comes out well. So I put a link in there. I encourage you to check that out. And with that, I would like to segue over to our spotlight speaker. I'm super excited. You know, this coming off of Veterans Day, I was super excited to reach out to Sheri and have her here with us today. She's Sheri Painter. She's with Bird's Eye Aerial Drones. And she is going to be sharing just kind of her journey and what it's been like and being an entrepreneur in the industry and partnering up with her husband and making a success of things. So, Sheri, I'm going to make you spotlight for everybody. Thank you for joining us here today. And you are spotlight. Awesome.
Absolutely. Wow, I see myself very large. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. It was really exciting when Desi asked if I would come on and share kind of my story with everyone. And I love doing so. I love networking and sharing. And of course, while I'm sharing today, this is me not just presenting at you, but it's a conversation. So if you have questions that pop up while I'm talking or sharing about anything, please feel free to put them in the chat. I believe Desi will help me out and call those out, or just raise your hand. I don't know if when I'm presenting, I'm more a Teams person, so I don't know if I'll see you, but I know Desi will help me out.
Yes,
So,
yes.
okay, wonderful.
Yes, we're about networking and having it interactive. So I'll watch for the hands go up.
Thank you. Okay, well, I'll go ahead and share my presentation with you. Okay. You guys see that all right?
Yes, it's perfect.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful. So I got to put my AI skills to work preparing this presentation. And I know most of you are probably drone pilots. I am not a drone pilot. My husband and I started this business 10 years ago last month, and I was his sensor operator, visual observer for years, which often surprises people when I go out into the field to do safety checks. But what I want to share today, because I'm sure you guys probably know just as much about drones as I do, I really want to share my experiences with you, right? My soft skills, the things I've been through and what they've led up to as far as being an entrepreneur and owning the company. So we'll be talking about my 23 years as a Navy wife, another 5 years as a wife of my husband who was over in Afghanistan, which meant every year he was only home for 29 days. And what that fostered in me that I was able to put to use once I became the owner of Bird's Eye Aerial Drones. So I'd like to start with kind of a job description, one that you may or may not have ever heard. The job description is this: seeking a resilient, multitasking superhero capable of managing a dynamic, constantly evolving household while supporting a partner in the Navy. Must be comfortable with the unexpected, the unexplained, and the mildly chaotic, all while raising two small humans who consider snacks a primary food group and bedtime a flexible concept. So that is the job description of a Navy wife, which I was for 23 years. My husband, Scott, went into the Navy pre us getting married. And for the first 23 years, he deployed a lot. He was gone probably about 90% of the time. So although that job description is very different from what I currently do as co-founder of Bird's Eye Aerial Drones, serving those 23 years really helped prepare me. It gave me a deep-rooted understanding of a bigger mission, strength, or resilience, kind of not like any other job could have. So again, I'm Sheri Painter. I'm co-owner and co-founder of Bird's Eye Aerial Drones. We've grown our company from Scott and I for the first few years up to about 170 employees, and now back down to a much more manageable size as we restructure and diversify outside of just the utility space. So let's talk a little bit about what the beginning of Navy life looked like. Has anybody here does anybody here have ties to the military? A few of you? Okay.
We could put
So
thumbs up, put it in our chat. Great question. Yes.
yeah, so a lot of people are entering the Navy nowadays. It's pretty different than it was. But when Scott went in, most people that went in rode it out for the whole 20 plus years. And as a Navy wife, we moved a ton. We set up homes, actually 18 times, and we adapted to deployments. So, like I said, Scott was gone about 90% of the time, and moving 18 times can be challenging, especially for a young couple. We moved away from where our home was, and everywhere we lived, we had no family. So it was really something that brought on initial challenges that we had to find solutions for. Our biggest initial challenges were communication challenges, right? When someone's gone 90% of the time, it's really hard to consult with them about what's going on, especially through deployments. We had to find new ways to communicate, and we had to communicate with intention. And I want to really just bring that home, because that's one of the lessons that I think is very important, no matter what you're doing, right? Is to communicate with intention. So some of the ways we had to find to communicate was actually what we called snail mail. Back then, there was no email. There was no internet. We had to actually write letters. And because the letters would arrive all at different times, you had to number them. Because what if you're writing about some catastrophe or something great, and it gets resolved and they read it out of order, and it causes a lot of confusion. So not only did we have to wait weeks for a letter to get to each other, we had to number them. Phone calls. We could only make phone calls. Actually, I couldn't call Scott at all. He had to call me, and he could only call from port when he was in port in some foreign country. And sometimes up to $15 a minute is what those cost, which, if you think about it, for a 10-minute call, which is very short when you haven't seen someone in months, it's $150. You can imagine my surprise when I got a phone bill. And remember, this was back in 1990 when the average phone bill was $20. So add on a few international phone calls, and you realized that you couldn't just have these ongoing phone calls into the night. Again, we had to communicate with intention. Packages. One of the things I loved doing, I've always been creative, loved creating things. So I used to create packages with themes. These are some funny stories that came out of these packages. So one of the packages I sent Scott was an "I can't bear to be without you." So everything in the package was bears. And so one of the things I sent him was a container of gummy bears. Well, by the time he had gotten it and it had gone through temperature changes, it was just one congealed big gummy ball. And he enjoyed that. Another package I sent off to him was movie night package. And I had made him Chex Mix Muddy Buddies. Now, I don't know if anybody's ever made it, but they're coated in powdered sugar, which Scott thought was mold, so he threw it out. So we had a lot of fun with these packages. And as we went into his career, our kids became part of creating these. And it was just a really fun way to communicate and make him understand that we're really thinking about him and love him, even though we can't talk to him. So let's see. There we go. Okay, so again, communication and resilience. A lot of what you learn in the military is strength, right? It's strength that you learn, you understand that you have strength that you didn't realize you had. It pushes you. You just didn't know how to wait through those deployments. Scott was actually on one of the, at the time, was the longest deployment in history. It was 10 months. It was during the shock and awe, where he was on his way home. That whole thing started to happen. They turned him right around and sent him back out for 4 more months. So I learned how to really thrive within that waiting and to create a life that kept moving forward, even when a huge piece of it was thousands of miles away. Now, I don't know if you guys know this, but the bulk of young Navy wives actually go home when their husband deploys. But when I chose to marry Scott, I chose to make my home there wherever we were. And so again, really thriving while waiting, thriving during the unknown. And that's another point that I really want to bring home to you guys. There's a lot of unknowns in life, whether you're starting a business, whether you're waiting for a contract, whether you are deciding, should I go to school? Should I learn more about this? What direction should I take with my career? Taking those opportunities to enjoy the journey of that waiting, right? It's not where we end up, it's the journey. And sometimes that journey leads you through waiting or difficult times, but learning to really thrive through that anyway. Every time my husband left, I had to dig deep and summon a kind of inner resilience. So, you know, you've got someone that's just your everything and off they go for 6 months. So that's something that that taught me that I had a lot more strength in me than I realized. And I discovered that strength isn't about feeling unbreakable. It's about bending without breaking, finding a way to keep on going, even on days when everything feels overwhelming. And that definitely translates into being a business owner, right? Anybody who's been an entrepreneur of a large business or a small business or any kind of business for more than, you know, a short period of time understands that there's going to be great days and there's going to be very challenging days. And I don't know if you guys have ever studied business, but there's a lot of household names that have had to make huge pivots, even so much as creating something totally different than what they started with. That's actually something that Scott and I do during the challenging times. We look at those businesses that have hit insurmountable challenges and succeeded through them. So that's something that I really want you guys to take away from this as well, is thriving through the waiting and the challenging. Managing life solo meant becoming both mom and dad, soft shoulder and disciplinarian, cheerleader and the fixer. And if you think about it, this was before YouTube existed. So being the fixer wasn't always just as easy as dialing up how to change a tire, how to fix a leaky pipe. You really had to, you know, dig down and figure out, how am I going to do this? But strength also meant allowing myself to lean on others when I needed to. I had to build a community of friends who understood this life, people who knew what it felt like to wait and to worry, to be both incredibly proud and slightly terrified. Navy life taught me that true strength isn't about doing it alone. It's about finding the courage to ask for help, to share the weight, and to keep on going even when it gets tough. Those are just basic life lessons, right? I am, those of you who know me, I am somewhat of a perfectionist, and learning to move forward without expecting that of everything and everybody was a big lesson that I learned. Even so much as, you know, assigning my children chores. And if they did their best, that's awesome, even though it might not be exactly how I did it. In the end, those 24 years showed me that strength isn't a muscle, it's a mindset. It's trusting that even when things are hard, you have what it takes to make it through. So transitioning from Navy wife to entrepreneur, I did various entrepreneurial experiences, from being a virtual assistant so I could be home with my kids when they were little. I worked for FedEx for years, and when Scott started to deploy, the schedule they had me working was not conducive to having little kids. So I started working for myself, and I was a freelance graphic designer. I worked for Premier Solutions and did several different things. Kind of carrying on that theme of asking for help. When I was working with Premier Solutions, which is actually Legal Shield and Identity Theft Shield, which I did as a employee benefit for small businesses, I had some mentors that were incredible in my life. Having a mentor is something that everyone should strive for, even if it means you go out, you find someone you admire, and you ask them, hey, would you be open to mentoring me? I still do this. I've paid for mentorship in the past, and I've just asked people who I admire. There's something about them that I love. I'm like, hey, would you mind letting me learn from you in this area? I encourage all of you to do that. We are never in a place where we cannot learn from other people. Finally, Scott and I, after all those different entrepreneurial experiences, started Bird's Eye Aerial Drones. And I learned through all these various experiences and working with BEAD. BEAD is short for Bird's Eye Aerial Drones, because not only is Bird's Eye Aerial Drones a mouthful, but everyone spells aerial like the mermaid. So we go by BEAD. I've learned that I've always had an entrepreneurial mindset, and I've always been happier in those roles. I can push myself and enjoy what I do, and I'm a connector, and I love that. So let's talk a little bit about the challenges and strengths in the new role of being an entrepreneur. Can I move this? Wonder. There we go.
Your slide is doing great.
Okay, great. So mentorship, being in a support role or a leader role, and being the co-founder of BEAD. That was kind of my entrepreneurial journey, right? I learned from other people. I put those things into practice, and then we never stopped learning to this day. I'm a lifelong learner, and I hope all of you guys are as well. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the challenges in the new role and the ways we overcame those. So, constant togetherness. You guys might not see that as a challenge, but when Scott was military and contracting for 27 years, he was gone 90% of the time. And now here we are side by side every single day. That was difficult. At first, we had to really find a rhythm that worked for both of us. We'd clash over small business decisions, but then I'd remember it was just like during deployments that I could navigate these new situations with flexibility and humor. Humor is always an excellent tool to bring to the table. It builds a bridge. It helps people to know that we're not all serious. And it just puts a light spin on things. You know, having spent years solving every little household issue on my own, I had learned how to get things done without backup. So when Scott suggested we divide the tasks, I kind of had to chuckle. I was used to making the calls, balancing the budget, troubleshooting crisis, handling late night emergencies. And in a way, these solo years prepared me to tackle obstacles in the world, business with confidence and self-reliance. but adjusting to our new team operation was a whole new experience. And through every challenge, I leaned on the same resilience I had developed as a Navy wife. I learned to take things one step at a time, to adapt quickly, and to find humor in the quirks of this new life. And now Scott, with by my side, I finally had a partner for the long haul. It was a little chaotic, but we did find our rhythm, just like we always have. And what we learned is that we each have our strengths, right? Let's just lean into our own strengths. And fortunately, our strengths complement each other. So that leans, that leads, and offers for us a great partner in leadership. Okay. So these are some of the things that, I feel like the last, I guess, almost 40 years has brought me. I think one of the most empowering realizations is how capable we really are, right? Of making big decisions, tackling new skills, navigating uncertainties. I'd always thought of myself as resilient, but the entrepreneurial world has showed me a whole new level of strength. A lot of people think, okay, I got my 107. I can fly a drone. I'm going to start a drone business. Well, that's great, but it's very important to do your research, because as I know, some of the people on this call have their own business. It's not just about buying a drone from Costco and popping it up in the air. There's a lot more to it. So definitely study that out if that's the route you want to go, and know that there will be ups and downs. You'll need to be resilient. I discovered my own ability to pivot, to learn on the fly, and to trust my instincts. And again, this is all as a non-pilot, right? It's interesting to have a whole team, a large team of pilots out there flying for you. It's actually very humbling. And know that you're achieving these great milestones. You're doing firsts. You're changing people's lives with this job that you've been able to offer them, with a career they love, they can grow in, and they can, many people that work for us are in a second career. So it's very fulfilling to be able to offer that. I also realized that building something, especially something of my own, feels like planting a flag in the world, a mark that says, I did this. A shift from years of waiting and adapting to creating and growing. And I learned that creating is really my passion. I'm very artistic. Again, I have a design and graphic design and marketing, and I've always enjoyed creating. And what I learned as an entrepreneur is that I don't need to be creating artwork. I can be creating anything, right? A company, I can be creating jobs, I can be creating connections, I can be creating opportunities. And that is really what fires me up. Right? Drones, they're very cool, but that's what fires Scott up and most of our employees up. I love creating. There's a special kind of pride in knowing that each step of your business journey is powered by your own idea, your effort, and for Bead, that's a real team, a team effort. This journey has brought me so much joy and self-discovery, from realizing that I can embrace new roles to learning that my impact goes beyond the support I can provide. So I just want to offer advice to any entrepreneur that's thinking of going in that direction. You can do it. If it's something that you're passionate about and you feel strongly about, you can do it. Focus on resilience, adaptability, your strengths. What do you love doing? And go for it. And beyond the military and beyond Bead, we're very excited. We're creating a couple other businesses. One is a woman-owned business. It's going to be consulting and training with a special niche. And we have another one we're building too, which we don't have all our legal things in place yet, so we can't let the cat out of the bag, but we're very excited. And I just want to close with reminding you guys that self-discovery and reinvention are lifelong journeys. Like I mentioned at the beginning, it's not the destination, it's the journey. And having grown Bead to one point being a $12 million company, is very humbling, very humbling. And it makes myself and Scott so grateful that, that with the team and the opportunities that came our way, we were able to do that. And this is some of the advice for aspiring entrepreneurs kind of spelled out, right? Embrace resilience, apply them to your life, apply those life lessons to your business challenges, stay adaptable, be ready to pivot and learn continuously. And I would encourage you guys to look up some of the household names, just Google household name companies who've gone through challenges or pivots. You will be blown away. If you think about it, I'm sure all of you know FedEx, right? Well, Fred Smith, the founder of FedEx, wrote his thesis on the concept of the business, his business FedEx, in college and got a D. I don't know what that professor's thinking now, but you guys really go after your dreams. Find your strength. What are your unique capabilities? And build a community around you. That's one of my favorite things to do, is to build community. I would encourage you to share your experiences with others, really lean on your personal growth, and do what it is that you love. Thank you.
I love it. Oh my gosh, that was just inspiring. And just everything you said can go back to the business aspect. And so I could see how, oh, we're going to let another person in here. Adrian's here too. I can see how it just life's experiences build on everything and who you are and what you put out there. So I'm going to go back over to our chat. There was a question that Suzanne had said that for business owners, how did you go about researching and finding jobs for your company? And so if you're building out a company, how do you go about doing that, reaching out and making that first step of building a relationship with another company or something?
Yeah, so for contracts, that type of thing.
That's what I'm assuming based
Okay.
on Suzanne's question.
Okay. Yeah, so, the first, I'd say 4 years of our business was networking and educating. Scott and I have educated thousands of people now on the safe and responsible use of drones. The first 5 years, we were educating people on what are drones. Are drones legal? We were involved in a lot of advisory panels and DACMs and, business groups, educational organizations that were all focused on drones. And it's really that networking and that establishing yourself in the community as an expert or even as an entity of some sort that led to some of our biggest initial contracts. So Scott was on I don't remember the exact name, but it was like the drone advisory board for Palomar College. They have a pretty great drone program. And there were some other people on that group as well. And so our first really large contracts were the utilities. SDG&E was starting up their drone program. They actually wanted to hire Scott. He didn't want to have a job. He'd been working for years and years overseas, doing what other people wanted, and decided that, he wanted to have his own business. So we had that relationship with them, got that contract, had a relationship with SCE because of that panel that we were on, got a contract with them. And from there, I'd say the first 5 years, we took whatever came our way, right? And then we started getting larger contracts and it just became word of mouth. So word of mouth, looking for RFPs that are out there. We've really had to be on the chevron of the industry, right? Because I don't know if you guys have looked lately, but still, with our company being 10 years old and the drone industry being where it is, still a ton of RFPs or requests for proposals don't call for drones specifically.
Hmm.
You have to see that, oh, look, they want to do survey, for example, and you have to suggest a new ways and means of doing it and then sell them on that. So it's a lot of work. It's not like plumbing where everybody knows plumbing, right? You have to convince them and show them that this is a better way to do it. So it took a lot of legwork, and still takes quite a bit of legwork. So I hope that answers your question.
Yes, thanks, Sheri.
You're welcome.
Perfect, perfect. And networking is so important when you're getting yourself out there and getting your name for your company. You do need to network and build relationships. And I love some of the things that you've done. And you mentioned in the very beginning, you talked about communication, and that is key in any company, in any organization, and what you're doing. Communication is key. But I love the follow-up email, how you were doing the emails, and that really is I don't want to say a forgotten thing, but who sends out a letter right now? It's all about email, right? And so when you actually put that letter into the mail and send it out to a client, they see it, they open it. There's just that one more connection that you have to somebody. And so that is something, the actual snail mail. I love how you said that.
Yeah.
Is like a forgotten thing, and yet for a business, it's very powerful.
Yeah.
So we did have a couple other things. First of all, Karina and Jim both are on the line here. So a big shout out to them because they've worked with you in the past in various capacities. So they're here.
Definitely.
Yeah, hello.
Yep, Karina worked with us with one of our largest projects with SCE, as did Jim. Jim worked with us at the beginning of that as well, and with our SDG&E project. So yes, it's great
Yeah.
to see you guys on here.
And doesn't that just go to show the network that you have within this community? We're like one big happy family, you know? And
We
I
are.
love it. I love it. Um, Katie asked a really good question, and I'm not able, there's been so much conversation going in on our chat. I'm not able to actually find the words, but he had asked about some of the failures. What are some of the hurdles that you've overcome to make the success that you have now?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great question. So I think a couple things, right? Scott had never run a company before. And if you think about being an entrepreneur and being in the Navy, it's almost like they're polar opposites, right? In the Navy, the procedures are all set. There is a complete chain of command. You were told what to do and you do it. That is not what being an entrepreneur is. So I think me having had that experience and him having had that operational experience was kind of that perfect partnership that I was referring to in my presentation, right? He knew how to create those SOPs or standard operating procedures. He knew how to organize the troops and get them going. And I knew more the business development side of things. So I wouldn't know, I don't know if that's a failure necessarily, but that was a hurdle we had to overcome for sure. He ended up getting his MBA and so is awesome at leading a company at this point in time. But in the very beginning, it was very new to him. As far as a failure, I don't really know if this could be attributed to something we did, but it was sure a hurdle. So like I said, one of our largest contracts was Southern California Edison. We were the first drone company they worked with. They invited to work with them. We'd worked with them and we'd actually been, if you scored all the contractors, we'd been the best contractor they worked with. And at the beginning of 2023, they put out so the drone industry in the utilities, I don't know if you guys, I'll give you a little bit of history. There was the whole Paradise Fire. I don't know how many of you remember that, but that basically caused the state of California and CPUC to give an open checkbook to the utilities. And we were super fortunate to be on board with them at that time. Well, after a few years, that open checkbook budget switched. And now the drone programs had a pretty stringent budget. The pot of money had changed. And so now where they were like, just get it done, Now they're like, okay, well, can you save another dollar or another 20 cents, or, how much can you shave off your bid? And they really made it about lowest cost versus best value. And so a company came in from out of state. I will not mention them by name, but 4 months into having won that bid because they were the lowest bidder, they went bankrupt. So the hurdle was that we lost because we will probably never be lowest price because we are best value. And that was a huge contract. So we had sized our company with personnel, with software, with equipment, with trucks, with everything, assuming we would be continuing this very large contract, only to find that, oh, it's gone. Now what do we do? So we learned a ton from that time, right? We went from a handful of people to about 170 people in a year. That's mind-blowing. So we were very, I don't want to say we were just reactionary, but we were kind of reactionary. And surprisingly, thankfully, through that whole growth period, we were able to maintain a stellar safety and quality level of service. So when that contract went away, it was a 3-year contract in 2023. They awarded it to a different company because of some internal dealings, and that didn't go well either. There's 1 year left on that 3-year contract. And so because of how not well it's been going, they actually put that last year back up for bid, and we've bid and we'll find out this month. So we're really just hoping that that comes our way again. That'd be really fantastic to see that come back around. But that was huge, right? How do you take a company that has scaled itself to service $12 million in business to now taking a large chunk of that away? So what did we learn? We learned to diversify, for one. We learned to run lean and mean. We learned right seat, right position, hire slow, fire fast. All those decisions you make as a little bit larger business, we learned through that time frame. And what's so exciting is that we've been able to take all those lessons along with the mentorship that I mentioned to you guys, because we have mentors, and build Bead back better. So I'd say those were the two biggest challenges that we had to overcome, and that we feel like we've come out with flying colors because we use them as a lesson, right? They were part of our journey. Maybe you could have told Scott and I the lessons that we learned, and maybe we would have learned easily, but sometimes you have to learn from the life lesson. And that's what we've learned along the way. Does that answer your question, Arcady?
We're gonna say it did, unless he says
Okay.
it twice. Actually, it was fantastic, and I made a note in there that, boy, we need to repeat that and write those down, because you're spot on. You scaled everything, and now you've learned that lesson, and that diversifying. You're not putting everything into, well, all your eggs in one basket, and
Right.
now we're going to scale it. You're going to do the training and do it slowly. Make sure that you're spot on with the people and the personnel that you want. That is fantastic. He said yes.
Okay, great.
It was, and true. We really do need to write that down. Let's see, a couple more comments that are going on, and also qualifies hard and move fast with prospective clients, Charlotte had mentioned. And then Carolyn said, this would be a great drone case study. Yes, it would. Arcadie's mic is not working, but we saw the yes. And so, wow, great, great information and just so inspiring. I love the safety aspect of it. That's you have to be proud in that part of it, you know, that you didn't compromise. You kept to your true ambitions and your morals to keep the company within what you want. I love that. Did you utilize the SBA, Small Business Admin, to start up?
That's a great question. We did not utilize them to start up. We did get the certification through them. And I would give you guys a resource that I think is hands down one of my favorite, and it's the SBDC, Small Business Development Center. There's one in the South, there's one in the North, and there's one in the East. Now, I will say, we've been to all of them, and my favorite is the East, but they all have great resources and they're free. So they'll work with anyone from a person with an idea on a napkin to someone who's making $100 million. They'll work with you at any level as long as you're still qualified as a small business for your NAICS or your certification. With the SBA, we did get our certs with them, and now the SBA oversees even more certs, ones that the VA used to oversee. But we had all our certs actually before we started working with them and the services that they offered. My husband that's one of his strengths, is getting all of that kind of behind the scenes stuff done.
Awesome. What a team. Amazing team. All right. So I think I put the link in there for the SBDC that you just mentioned. A couple more questions that we have in our chat. What are the requirements for contracting or hiring new remote pilots?
So for us specifically, we service different types of clients, right? We service some that are utilities, like tier 1 safety type positions. For us, that requires a minimum of 50 hours on the sticks manually, not, programmed flying, mapping, that type of thing, and 30 hours specifically on the type aircraft you'll be flying. A lot of people come to BEAD with no experience in the drone industry at all. And that's one of the things we really pride ourselves on, is taking people in who have some interest and letting them work as a visual observer, a safety observer with an experienced pilot, and then walking them all the way through to becoming that pilot. We've probably helped at least 12.5 women come into the industry that way, where they decided, I think I want to go experience this and be outside and be a visual observer, and they grow to love it and get their 107, and they fly for us on these non-critical jobs, and then they're able to transition over. So requirements, you would need to be able to travel. You need to be sharp on the sticks, because we've had a lot of very experienced people work for us. But again, there's always that option to come in as a VOSO and work in that capacity until we feel like you are able to pass our check flight. And again, when you guys have a drone, if you guys are considering starting a drone business, there's a lot more to it than just flying a drone. I know Jim can attest to this. There's post-processing, there's mapping, there's GIS, there's HR, there's, legal, there's all sorts of GIS. I mean, we have a whole crew. I mean, when we had 70 teams out in the field, we had a lot of people behind the scenes doing our flight operations and everything like that. So,
very true. Angela has a question. I see your hand up.
okay.
Do you want to go ahead, Angela? You muted, unmuted.
Thank you so much. And I love that you touched on, your whole experience, business theory, soft skills, all those things, which sometimes I think people forget about in this realm. So just thank you. And when you guys are doing trainings or in-house trainings, do you guys use NIST at all? Or how do you are you guys using any NIST courses or?
We don't at this time. We have our AS 9100 certification, which oversees and over encompasses us as a company. But we do look at that as a perk when we hire someone if they have it. And as we rebuild, we may be bringing some more of that training in.
Great question. Yeah, great
Mhm.
question. So I think there was another one. Which ones do you speak of? Or Katie said that.
I
or
see Bill asked a question. Have you registered on SAM for government contracts? Yes, Bill, we have. We're on GSA. We're in SAM. We actually have won our first federal prime contract for EPA. So that was super exciting. We always thought we'd get into government contracting as a sub, just assuming that there wouldn't be, you know, a call specifically for what we did. But yeah, we've been out in the field with the EPA studying air quality for valley fever. So we've been mounting their drones or their sensors, their air quality sensors on our drones and going out to different areas in California, doing different scenarios, checking what it, I don't know if you guys know this, but valley fever are spores that live in the dirt. So if you stir up dirt or there's a fire or there's big storms, like wind storms, that can all stir up valley fever, and valley fever can be deadly.
Yes.
So, you know, our guys are all suited out like they're going to the moon, but it's been a lot of fun working with the EPA.
Yeah. Oh, that's fantastic.
Mhm.
A lot of comments coming in. That's huge. Bravo. The sniffer. Excellent. It is. And it is a huge concern when drone pilots are out there. So that is fantastic. I think we've pretty much covered all the questions that are in the chat. If anybody had any last minute questions to ask, it's been so inspiring for just how you've taken all the life's lessons that you've learned and put them into the drone industry and the business that you're doing. It's just been a phenomenal life lessons. I love it.
Yeah, you know,
Mask
and
up, my
to,
friends, company. There you go.
yeah, definitely. And I just, you know, I want to add one more kind of reinforcement to what we talked about. You know, somebody had asked the qualifications of a pilot, and then I think it was Angela came on and said, good job addressing soft skills. Soft skills are huge for us. We have specific values at BEAD, and our hiring processes, our HR processes, our operations processes all revolve around our values and those soft skills, because you can teach someone to fly a drone, but you cannot teach character. So those are very important.
I love it. I love
Yeah.
it. Fantastic. Okay, so we're going to wrap up, but I want to do one last shout out. We got reconnected because of some potential awards that you might be up for or have won. You're actually at a convention right now, right?
I am. I'm at the VIB Network annual conference. This is Veterans in Business.
I
So
love
one of my
it.
favorite conferences. Yes.
I love it. I love it. So we want to make sure that we stay connected because you have other ones and awards and such. It's just, you're amazing. And I was so thrilled when you said that you would be able to join us here today. Do you have
Thank
any
you.
that you want to do a shout out about or excited or something that's come down the pipeline?
Sure. Yeah, it just seems like I've been really honored and blessed with so many things. I was recently highlighted in Women Entrepreneur magazine. I was nominated for a Women in Leadership luncheon through the East County Chamber. Uh, this week, we've actually been, I've been honored or nominated as Veteran Spouse of the Year, and BEAD has been nominated as Veteran Business of the Year, and we should find that out on Thursday. So we're really excited about that. Yeah, just so many acknowledgments and honors have come our way the past couple months. I'm really grateful
Awesome.
to have had those. Yeah.
Awesome, awesome, fantastic. So I put the link into Bead, the website. Do you mind if I put the your email address in there
Yeah.
if someone wanted to reach out to you? And
I think I did, but no, feel free to go ahead and put it in again.
Yeah, Bill said obviously well-deserved recognition. Yes, I totally
Thank
agree.
you.
I am just so thrilled for you. So awesome. Thank you very much. We're going to wrap it up for our Tuesday. We have all kinds of great stuff coming up in the next few Tuesdays as well. But I just want to thank you, Sheri, for your time and for everything that you're doing. And just congratulations on all your successes.
Thank you so much.
Awesome.
I put it in the chat, you guys, my email. Feel free to reach out anytime.
Awesome.
I'm here to support you, help you in any way.
Awesome. And this will be recorded and it'll be uploaded to the library if you want to check it out again, because she's had some really great information. So thank you again. All right, everybody. See you next week. Wonderful to see you here on Tuesdays. Thank you, Sheri. Thank you for your
Thank you. Absolutely. Thank you, everyone.
time. Okay. Bye. That kind of wraps it up.